Hello again, Stroke. Welcome back to another build video for Torchlight 3. This one is Absolver Zealot, which is a Dusk Mage plus Electrode build that relies heavily on stacking casting speed and cost reduction for Absolver, the spamming Absolver with that reduced cost and the increased casting speed. So important skills would be Conjure Electrode, 1000 volt burst, Absolver, or if you're using the Arc of Light you can try with Holy Bolt, and then other skills that you would want would be Entropy with the Molten Reach item in the Legendarium, and then you could use Dark Spears, and that together with Entropy would build up the light buff bar quickly, and then Absolver or Holy Bolt could be building up the dark bar with that fast casting speed. You want Entropy on a cooldown with the Molten Reach, so that you can focus more on casting the Absolvers or Holy Bolts for that cast speed stacking. I've got my cost reduction of Absolver over 50%, the mana cost reduction, so I can get it to cost between 1.6 and 1.3 mana with 3 items that give me around 10% extra cost reduction for Absolver, and this is great. And you can do similar things with Holy Bolt. I guess the build is flexible, it's fun, and it's something different. It may not be as meta as, for example, spamming Chaotic Strikes, but I really enjoy playing it, and I hope a lot of you out there in the Struck Pub would enjoy playing it too. And it's definitely something new. It's a new stat that we didn't have before with the casting speed, and I think it's nice. I will show you multiple versions in the next segment of how you might want to spend or allocate the skill points, so hopefully one of those is to your liking. Let's move on now to the next segment with the skills and show you what I was talking about. Skills I've decided to choose for this build are kind of interestingly set up, and you will see why in just a moment. I have a few things to explain. So, Absolver, right now I've got it at 1.6 mana cost, but I can get it to 1.3, and by default it should be 2.2. Let's show you why. You see now it's 2.2, but I've got 10.8% Absolver cost here and 11.6% Absolver cost mana reduction here. So with that mana cost reduction along with its current built-in mana reduction, we can get a pretty nice reduction. See, 25% goes to 35.8 and then to 47.4% resource cost decrease for Absolver. So when we combine this with this one, another 9.5, it's 56.9. This helmet I was only using for one of the maps I recorded because I found it later from a blue gear bag. So you can see here the difference. Mana regeneration per second without buffs for me is 2.1 seconds with the new helmet. The old one was 5.1% mana regen, and stacking with other types of mana regen we've got, but without the Celestial Boots mana infused we get 2.1 without it, 2.2 mana regen per second with it. And the difference with the buff is, because the buff I think only stacks with 2 items, and it goes to 5.4 or 5.6. so with this one is 5.4, with this one it will be 5.6 mana regen per second, so 0.2 only difference and 0.1 without the buff. And I think it's much better to have the cost reduction, because the cost reduction is giving you 0.3 per cast of Absolver, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's better to reduce Absolver than reduce the mana cost, the mana regeneration. So yeah, mana cost reduction over mana regeneration should be the priority for this build when you're deciding on the helmet, or whenever else you could get a choice between the two. Now, This one also gives me Conjure Electrode 1 level, which allows me to, when I want to get a point back. And if you've noticed now, unlike in the video when I was playing, I'm using Damnation instead of Consecration. And let's show you why I think that might be a good idea. I removed Unholy Bolt 1 point which I had, and I could put it into Damnation. And then I removed 1 more point for Entropy, because I wanted to see what one could have as points from skills that are not needed, and maybe let's say Entropy is maximum needed at level 4, and to go to the plus 2 at level 6, 10% crit chance for dark skills. It's nice, but I'd rather use Damnation versus Consecration if I have problems with the mana, if I don't have the mana cost reduction. I think right now I've got enough mana cost reduction and enough mana regeneration to not need Damnation's 5% mana every second. So yeah, it's pretty nice, but for now I don't need it, and that's why I think those 2 points that I've spent here are just to illustrate spare points that you can put wherever you want. You can, for example, go 1 point into Luminous Run and just use that, and maybe get that point removed if you're gonna use it, and to put more points, and then maybe you can even get 1 point from Entropy, and then you would have 1 plus 2 plus 1, that's gonna be 4 points for you, which would give you 10% damage to relic skills. But since you're not doing damage with relic skills, you could probably go for this crit chance if you need it, or you can go for more points here, which it's not gonna give you the tier 2 bonus entirely, but actually maybe you could even get this one, maybe you could even get this one, or you could get this tier 2 bonus if you want as well, to make the buff last 9 seconds instead of only 6, and then you're gonna have that block chance for a lot of time. There's a lot of things you can do. You can put more points into lightning strikes and so on. There are considerable options, but I was using something like this, just a level 1 Consecration. I didn't level it up, and with Entropy being on a cooldown, you could probably invest the points into Entropy as well, and to get that Entropy that does explosions. It would scale very well with this build, with this item, the Molten Reach, and then it would keep rocking those explosions. But the mana cost, if you're spamming it, is gonna be very bad for you for this build, because you need the mana. So just get it on a cooldown and then maybe get the mana cost increase. But for now I'm playing without the mana cost increase, because I'm not using this mostly for the damage. I'm using it for building up the light buff bar, and then Dark Spears also builds up the white buff bar, and I think that's great, a great synergy between those two skills. White Spears also slows enemies, and we have already invested into the bonus, the passive bonus that allows us to do damage to blinded, slowed or stunned enemies, so why not use it? Now, if you don't want to be using Absolver, if you want to use Holy Bolt, and if you want to stack cost reduction for Holy Bolt, that could work as well. You could just max Holy Bolt instead of Absolver, and you can either remove all the points and lose that extra bonus blinded, slowed, stun damage, and just put the points elsewhere if you want to. And that's gonna be 4 extra points you could remove. So yeah, there's options. If you're leveling up this build, strongly suggest use Chaotic Strikes. Chaotic Strikes is the easy mode, kind of, not easy mode, but you still can get one shot. You're not gonna be Mr. Tank a lot, but you're gonna be able to do a lot of damage if you try and hit and just bail for a few seconds, for a couple of seconds, to get the Chaotic Strikes to do their damage. So you can just spam the skill a few times, step back for a moment, then spam the skill a few more times, step back for a moment, let it recharge, and yeah, it's pretty nice. It's definitely a nice skill. Then Shocking Display, keep in mind every relic has a 25 or 50% bonus electric or ice or poison or physical or what was the other one, fire damage. So you could get plus 25 after the next or the one after patch, you would be able to get 25% on any of those. They're getting rebalanced so that each of them gives you the same amount, and those 50s were a little bit overpowered, so they needed that balance down rather than up. So yeah, I think it's better that they're going this route to balance the overpowered things down rather than increasing and buffing the underpowered ones. I think it's better that way, because we were getting a lot of damage. Even right now on Painful, I'm getting a lot of damage with just using a blue weapon, which is pretty much even not properly synergized, because this 900 physical damage could have been electric, and then even if I had a socket on it, could have been even more damage. So keep in mind, without even properly min-maxing the build, I could still do decent damage. So yeah, it makes sense for this to be nerfed. So in this one, we're still gonna suggest use 5 points even after the nerf, even when it's 25%. I max out Conjure Electrode for the casting speed, and this is the second important part of this build. It gives you a lot of casting speed, 25% here and 50% here, and it's kind of unfair for this skill to give attack speed at tier 1 and casting speed at tier 3. I wish they would just put them in the same tier and add another one, another bonus for the other tier. Here, tier 2 is nice for the 1000 volt burst above duration, and on the way we're also getting tier 1 for the shocking for 5 seconds. And I like it because that's 10 seconds being doubled to 20. See, if it's less, probably the gains wouldn't have been this valuable, but 10 seconds is definitely a nice gain from this buff duration. So you stack this duration of that casting speed, and then you use this, and you can even build up another one and try and cast it. Or you could just use Localized Storm and just burst at the first few seconds, then this would be over, and then this would also be over eventually. So yeah, that's pretty fun. And then Energizer, every relic has it. It's just recharge rate for your relic skills, pretty nice. And yeah, there's other ways how to spend some points. If you want, you can even try and go for Lightning Strike, because it's 10% chance, but if you're hitting very quickly, this could also work well into a build. Now, you could also use Energy Spike. I just didn't want to use it to make it look like my previous build, like the Piercing Coat. I just didn't want it to look too similar. That's why I wasn't using Holy Bolt. And if you use Holy Bolt, you could use Arc of Light and get yourself to auto-cast Absolver for its current damage, but without proccing the tiered bonuses. That kind of was the thing that I've noticed. So keep that in mind as well. You can even try using Spirit Well. I mean, it's not bad, but you're gonna have to probably focus more on a dark build if you're gonna do that. So yeah, for now, that seems to be what I can suggest. One level in Whitening Barrier seems to be perfect. This is my perfect setup for the skills, with a skill point in the helmet. My perfect setup, except those 2 points, which I will see where to put. I'm probably gonna put them back into Entropy. It's not gonna reach level 10, yeah, it's not gonna reach level 10, so I'm not gonna get the tier 3 bonus. I was gonna say level 8, but realized we're on the relic tree, not on the darker light. So that seems to be the importance of things. Now I'm gonna tell you, the Shadow Step mana regeneration is really good. It's really great, and I think you shouldn't remove this one. I think it should stay. And later you would see in the gear department, in the gear segment, what we need to be farming. So yeah, in the meantime, let's show you about the Legendarium. Keep in mind, I need to talk a little bit about gear here to explain why we want certain things in the Legendarium. My new Legendarium would be Celestial Gauntlets, which is the chest armor that can give us +2 white skills, a Molten Reach for Entropy to get 8 seconds cooldown, and then we would have Celestial Gauntlets on us. We would have most likely the Celestial Shoulders, so we can have blue boots, or use the Celestial Boots, so we don't have to use the shoulders with the summons which are not synergized for us. It's either one or the other, you have to decide which one to go for. And then most likely wearing a Celestial Mask if we can, with a good bonus for Absolver or for a skill, or either both of them, even better. Or mana cost regen if we can get the cost, it's still better than not getting it. Then we will have a blue chest, and yeah, more about the other items in the gear segment. But yeah, when we have 3 pieces of celestial equipment like the helmet, gauntlets and shoulders, or helmet, gauntlets and boots, or in my case, because I didn't have the good helmet, I'm using the legs, you get the chance to empower, to boost, to get the set bonus, even while you have a 4th item in the Legendarium. So 3+1 works, 2+1 doesn't work, 1+2 also doesn't work. So you have to make sure you're equipping 3 items. If you haven't equipped 3 items, you won't be able to get the bonuses from items in the Legendarium. So right now you can see I'm using the mask and cuirass, but ideally the mask would be equipped. I'm gonna be using the cuirass, the Molten Reach, and the arc powered legs, which look like this. The arc powered legs instead of the cuirass would be instead of the mask would be the preferred setup change. Arc powered leg armor, let me quickly show you that one, what it gives. Arc powered pants, cast Conjure Electrode, then you get 10% chance to gain 25 relic energy, which is pretty nice because, well, it might be just 10% chance, and you might even want to experiment, but I would suggest against it with using 2 more arc powered pieces. But if you do decide to experiment, I would suggest the shoulders, and well, then you gotta use the legs. Yeah, it's gonna be actually a decent bonus, but I still wouldn't suggest going for that. But just get the arc powered legs, don't get the 20% chance, keep the 10% chance, and it's nice because it's half the energy you're using to cast the skill back, and that's if you don't have any cost reduction, any specific modifiers to that skill. For now, I think it's pretty great to use it. So I think that pretty much sums up the Legendarium. There's other things you can get like Skittering Shoulders, or like items such as if you decide to use the energy spike skill. If you decide to use the energy spike skill, you could get some items that modify this one. So there is that one item, but as I said, intentionally didn't want to be showing you a build. I didn't want to show you a build with Ebon Grasp and with Energy Spike, because it will be just too similar to the other one, and I don't think it would have been something fun to see. Yet again, pretty similar build. So this one could be similar that I'm casting Absolver, and before I was auto-casting it with Holy Bolt, but yeah, I'm stacking it, I'm getting all the projectiles, and I'm getting the casting speed stacking. And for the pet skills, use any aura you like. You can use only one aura from your own pet skills, but if you have allies with other auras, you can stack all 4 of them. Then use Healing Friendship, and ideally get things like Battle Cry, and things like Defensive Posture maybe. If you want defense, if you don't want defense, you can get Stun, or some lifesteal for the pet, or even summons, or gas, or immobilize. I think immobilize is actually pretty nice for this build to keep them rooted, so maybe something like this could work well. And yeah, I think you just have to decide. I strongly suggest the healing and the crit chance, and crit chance is now capped at 40, so make sure you're not going over 40 when using deadlier strikes, and maybe use the block and stack it with your shield and a running partner as well. Alright, I think that's pretty much it for the skills. Let's show you some info about the gear. So now about the gear, I'm gonna try and be quick, but you want 3 celestial pieces. I'm right now wearing the pants which ideally I wouldn't be wearing, and I would be using blue ones similar to this one that give me flat damage, and flat damage would be better than percent unless you really have like a two-hander with a wad of weapon damage from sockets and rows. And now moving on to which pieces I would ideally be using. Celestial Gauntlets for the buffs. Buff with 100% increased damage once and then twice once you have white and dark buff active. And then that increases your mana cost reduction, but the mana cost reduction works weirdly because I've got cost reduction for Absolver. And when I do cast this, the cost reduction remains, but it also gets mixed up with this increased cost. So things would cost 100% more, but remove 56.9% from that 100, and then you get the real cost reduction that Absolver is getting. And that's pretty nice. I love it. Now, I would suggest wearing the hat and getting something like mana cost for Absolver. And mana cost for Absolver, you want to stack in 3 pieces at least. Shoulders, helmet, and offhand can roll it. If you don't use the mana cost for Absolver, if you're using Holy Bolt, try and get Holy Bolt or whatever other skill you're using that's spammable. I wouldn't suggest going for a Radiant Blast setup though. But yeah, use that here, and here, and if you see it elsewhere, I mean, get it. It's gonna be even better. So use the gauntlets as Celestial. The hat, as you can see, mine has Conjure Electrode. Try and get a Celestial one like this. It would be amazing. And maybe Celestial boots or shoulders. As I said, boots can give you percent damage. I can show you, but it's this stat. The plus percent to electric. In your case, you would want to go for electric. And yeah, then you can get the blue legs, the blue chest for flat damage like this one, and still get the bonus and swat it in the Legendarium, and a blue weapon, ideally one-handed with physical damage and then physical in the socket, if you can even get sockets. I tried on this one many times and I couldn't get electric damage on the socket, so if you get as much electric as possible, it's perfect, and maybe some crit damage, or maybe chance to shock, or crit chance. And for the offhand, you want mana again once and mana again twice, and hopefully the cost reduction for Absolver and maybe a socket where you can get some more mana again. For the pets, you want Dryad's Neckband. Dryad's Neckband, let's show you what it does, and you want one of the tags that gives you the bartering, the token of rapid bartering. You want one of that tag, and then the other one is just whichever you select. Maybe Shock Nova, but here's Dryad's Neckband, or maybe just select some sort of warding, or even the chance to refresh cooldowns is a good choice. And that's pretty much it, I think. For the gear. Let's tell you the good stats. Crit damage goes to 300%, crit chance is now capped at 40, so be careful not to go overboard. Flat damage is always good. Go get damage because of shocking rounds. Even when it's made 25% instead of 50, it's still gonna be worth it. As I said, mana cost for Absolver reduction, defense HP, block chance, evasion. Elemental defenses are also not bad. And gearwork only goes to 100, and keep in mind some maps give you 50 or 25%, so careful not to go overboard with this one. And let's see if I'm missing something else. I don't think we're missing anything else. As a suggestion, there's more stats that you could see most likely on my website in the text version of the build, but I think that's pretty much it. Now let's show some more gameplay. And here we are at the gameplay segment, where I tell you how I like to play the build and how I like to rotate the skills. I think it's very fun when you save up all full energy, all 100 energy, and just abuse bosses, but before that you have to spend 200 total to unlock the relic. So I would say start by building up 50 energy, then use Conjure Electrode, and maybe use things like Consecration if you think you would be standing in one place, or Damnation if you're going for a Damnation setup to make the enemies do less damage and give you mana back, and then just use your shield maybe if you want for bog chance, or just don't use it if you don't want. Then Entropy and Dark Spear just to quickly start building with the Entropy, or in the Dark Spears I mean, to be building the light bar, and then you can just start spamming Absolver. While you're spamming Absolver, you're building the dark buff bar pretty quickly, especially with Conjure Electrode on. If you have 100 energy, you can do Conjure Electrode and also stack it with the Localized Storm AoE buff. I think it would stack pretty nicely with that one. When you get that extra 25% damage on top of the casting speed, and it's just super fun. It's super fun. There's various ways to rotate it, but I think if you just play around with it, see what you like. Do you wanna just use immediately when it's ready 50 points, bam, Conjure Electrode, or do you wanna use 2 Conjure Electrodes? Do you wanna use Conjure Electrode and Localized Storm? And it's even more fun when you have already used 200 energy and are saving your big power, the 1000 volt burst, for a boss to make a proper burst with the 75% total casting speed that the build can achieve. I think it's nice, I think it's fun. You could prefer to rotate and maybe use the 25% first, then the 50, then another 25%. This also works. I mean, there's many ways to play it. Just make sure to be using the cooldown skills to be proccing the celestial legs. The celestial boots I mean. And if you have arc powered legs, that's gonna be pretty nice, because that would allow you to be more spammy with Electrode and keep that casting speed up. Entropy, as you see, with those extra projectiles is amazing, and I hope you like it just as much as I do. And let me know what versions you liked better from the ones that I've shared. I'm including a lot of gameplay this time around in this video, so hopefully that gameplay is to everyone's liking. I don't think there's that much more to talk about the build, but hopefully it was helpful. And hopefully you enjoy this. Maybe not as meta build, but a unique build. It's a unique build, and it's super funny sometimes when you see all those spams of Absolvers on the map. It's just mad and nice fun. So this pretty much sums up the build. If you'd like to get notified when I upload more content, you can subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss the content update notifications. The content you would expect to see on my channel is builds and guides and info news videos, as well as other type of content for wooters of all sorts, RPGs, ARPGs, tactical RPGs, shooter wooters, and other things in between. Thanks for watching, keep it cool, Struck Up, and until next time.